Welcome back. Earlier, we spoke with retired four-star General Michael Hayden, the former director of the NSA and the CIA. His new book is called Playing to the Edge: American Intelligence in the Age of Terror. Now, according to Gallup, President George W. Bush's approval ratings were at 25% when he left office. One of the big reasons, according to the narrative out there, was this indictment in the court of public opinion, that this story about WMDs was all a big lie concocted by the Bush administration. But you write in your book, quote, "The urban legend has it that we were pressured by the White House, and especially by Vice President Cheney, to write a case for war. I never experienced such pressure, and when I got to CIA and talked to those more directly involved, they felt no such pressure either. We just got it wrong." You talk about this overcorrection for misjudging Saddam Hussein the last time around. As we look to the future, how do we prevent more of those consequential misjudgments and overcorrections when we obviously want to draw back on the amount we're involved in places around the country?
So number one, no one, especially me, is promising you perfection. I tell a story that I got asked once, on a scale of 0 to 10, General, how do you rate CIA analysis? And my answer was, we don't do 8, 9, or 10. In other words, we don't get those kinds of questions. They go to the Department of Commerce or somewhere, right? We get the tough questions. We try to get them right. This one we got wrong, and as I say in the book, John, it was our fault. A clean swing and a miss is what I told Leon Panetta as he was coming in to replace me. It was our fault. Now, the agency went to school on this. When I talk about the National Intelligence Estimate, the WMD, going wrong, I say it's not just that we were wrong. We were. That's bad enough. But we in no way communicated our ambiguity to our client. When you read that estimate today, it looks like it's been chiseled on some tablets and has been brought down from Sinai. And even we didn't think that. We knew that there were different levels of confidence in different judgments. And we didn't communicate that to our clients. We've actually corrected that. There are some recent national intelligence estimates online, and they're actually in very clumsy English, because every time we say something, we say, comma, with medium confidence, with low confidence,
and you say
so on.
The decision maker should never be fully satisfied with the information they're getting. If you like the information, you should question it even harder.
Yes, exactly.
And if you don't like the information, you should continue to question it as well.
Exactly. And here was a case that I will freely admit. We were coming up with an estimate that was welcomed by our policymakers.
And that should be a red flag.
And that should be, all policymakers should say, that's just making me feel too good. Let me push.
I want to talk about some of the stories in the book that I really enjoyed, that maybe weren't so enjoyable while you were experiencing them, but it really does kind of encapsulate what it's like to be a man who's walking in your shoes. You went to Pakistan with Mike McConnell, the Director of National Intelligence, and you sat down with Pervez Musharraf, the president of Pakistan. After that meeting, the flight home took a little longer than normal, because when you were in Pakistan, the guys who came to pick you up forgot their government credit card, and the Pakistanis would not fill you up
not gas up the aircraft.
You say this is just part of the story that talks about how these guys are the allies from hell, right?
The most difficult relationship we had. Now, to give them credit, early in the conflict with terrorism, we arrested more people with the help of ISI than we did with any other service. But they've always been a prickly ally. I mean, the punchline, John, is that you had two of the most senior people in American intelligence forced to fly into a war zone in Afghanistan to stop at Bagram and get gas.
Can you imagine what would have happened if you guys would have taken fire while you were flying into Bagram Air Force Base?
Yeah, I'd have been disappointed.
I think so. I think your wife would have been disappointed, too. Another interesting and very telling anecdote in the story is about a meeting you had with John Brennan as the transition's taking place there. Obviously, there's going to be some tension in some of those moments, but you talk about a scenario where you're sitting there, things are getting frustrating, and you have to count to 10. But while you're counting to 10, the F word starts to come into your mind a little bit.
Only in my mind.
Only in your mind. But you talk about these exchanges with people, and there's obviously a lot on the line. Are the transitions between the one like you experienced with John Brennan, are they normally this awkward, or were they
it wasn't awkward with John. We had that one moment when it appeared that John might be my successor, and then in full defense of John, he got beat up mercilessly by the left-wing blogosphere. I mean, this is a guy who was currently director, and frankly, I think doing a good job. And just when his name was surfaced back in 2008, the left wing went crazy because he just happened to be in the agency during the time that George Tenet was director. All right? So I understand John's frustration. I was trying to help. It wasn't taking so well on John. We had a moment of tension. We've moved on.
A certain fraternity, though, amongst guys who have been in that office.
There's a lot of people ask me, do you go back to the agency very much? And my answer is, one director at a time. He doesn't need me around.
Yeah, not an easy business, to say the least, and there's so much good stuff in this book. We're going to talk more about that coming up. We talked about some more serious moments in the book, but I want to talk about something that I think really sums up what it's like for somebody to work at the CIA, something that most of us will never know, but it involves Angelina Jolie. So if that's not a tease, I don't know what is. Coming up, we're going to have more of our interview with General Michael Hayden. Yes, I mentioned Angelina Jolie, one of the juiciest nuggets of this book in Playing to the Edge. So General Michael Hayden had a little discussion with Angelina Jolie, but it was strictly CIA business. We'll talk about that exchange when we come back, and more about the realities of working at the CIA after this.
You know, there were more caucuses and primaries over the weekend. Trump and Cruz each won 2 states. Rubio won Puerto Rico. Bernie Sanders won a few states. Hillary Clinton won big in Louisiana. Everybody went home a winner. Just like soccer camp. It was really nice.
Well, those are the winners, but some losers. The butt of the late-night comedian jokes. While the rest of the headlines and punchlines coming up after this. You're watching Newsmax Now. And welcome back. We continue our interview now with General Michael Hayden, former director of the NSA and the CIA. His new book is called Playing to the Edge, American Intelligence in the Age of Terror. All right, let's talk about Angelina Jolie. You get to speak to a lot of interesting people when you're the director of the CIA. But she was doing research for this movie, Salt. She's playing a CIA officer. And you talk about this particular exchange, and you tell Angelina Jolie if she wants to make her movie realistic, she should do what?
Well, she was talking to a bunch of female case officers and analysts. It was a video conference with her in California. She was, as you say, John, just trying to get the sense of the part. Good, that's great. And so I came in and kind of interrupted just to say hi, thank her for her interest.
You just happen to know this is going on. You
I was told,
let's be honest, right?
I was told what she was doing, what the purpose of it was. She then began to ask me a couple of questions. What would you pass on to me? And I said, look, I know it's not going to fit your genre, all right? But if you could, somewhere in the movie, and it doesn't have to be you or some other name star, but somebody who's recognizable in the film, have someone say, at a moment of, if not crisis, at least some tension, saying, I'm going to need you to do this. This has got to be done by the morning. Work all night if you have to. And I wanted the man or woman case officer or analyst to say, I got it, boss. I'm going to do it. But I want to be gone for 90 minutes because it's my turn for the soccer carpool. All right, I got to go. I'll be back. But don't worry, I'll have this done.
And that's the reality, right?
That's
of a CIA
the reality.
officer.
Yeah.
They don't look like Angelina Jolie necessarily. You say they look more like our neighbors.
They do. I mean, my line is, who constitutes the CIA workforce? My answer is, they're like your friends and neighbors. And then I add, and if you live where I do, they are your friends and neighbors.
That's right. And I think a lot of that has gotten lost in this discussion, this debate we're having now about Apple phones, about CIA, about Edward Snowden. The folks that we have in this country doing this for us are working for us. It is their mission, and we lose sight of the fact that they are us in many ways.
It's very true. And what I've taken to saying on this book tour, because one of the purposes of the book, John, is, come with me. Let me show you what's behind the vault door here, to the degree allowed by law. And frankly, the agency let me say a lot of stuff. All right. When I summarize that to our countrymen, what I say is, look, these people aren't aliens. They share your values. They went to the same schools that you went to. They are thoroughly American. But what they're required to do is to take the values they have in common with you and apply them to circumstances which you will never have to face.
And most of us never want to have to face these situations. Incredibly difficult. The thing I love most about the book, General Hayden, all the interviews we've done, I can hear your voice. It's clear you wrote this. This is not written by a ghostwriter. I did. All right, a ghostwriter, I should say. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. A pleasure to finally meet you in person. Thanks so much for stopping by today.
Thank you.
All right, we got to turn our attention now. Well, it's time to laugh, right? Let's have a little laugh. Again, it's only Tuesday, and we can already use a laugh this week. At the expense of Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump's executive branch, and the governor. Here's today's edition of Headlines and Punchlines.
In last night's Democratic debate, Hillary Clinton said that several times a day she speaks to God. Yeah, but never for under $100,000. He wants to see the money slip.
But Donald, the issue is out there now, and the people have the right to know the size of your executive branch. So I'm calling on you to release the long form. Or the short form. No judgment.
When I heard this, I was like, wait, Puerto Rico can vote for president? And the answer is not really. They're a territory, not a state. And come November, they get no votes in the general election at all. Yeah, but good job, Marco Rubio. You only have to go a few hundred miles offshore to find a place that wants you to be president.
He also got a high-profile endorsement from Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold officially endorsed John Kasich yesterday. Or maybe he endorsed a chicken quesadilla. I have no idea what... I really don't know what he's saying.
All right, good stuff there. What do you think? What do you have to say? You have any questions for General Hayden? We'll try to get them to him. You can reach out to us on Facebook at facebook.com/Newsmax Now, on Twitter at Newsmax Now, or send us an email, newsmax.com/comments. We got much more ahead, including your comments, when we come back right after this. You're watching Newsmax Now.